There is no doubt that almost every member of the MLP community has created an original pony character, many of which will be self-inserts or representations of the creator, more specifically known as Ponysonas or sometimes Ponysas, coming from the term persona. This video essay will be an autopsy, slight design analysis, and retrospective of all of my past Ponysonas, or Mary Sue's in a nutshell. Anaphora wasn't always my Ponysona. My first Ponysona was Sunlight, who was conceived in 2011. A yellow unicorn with orange hair and a simple sun as a cutie mark. Looking back, I do admire the analogous colour palette. Her original eye colour may have been orange, but in my reconstruction I have depicted it as blue as a compliment to her warm palette. She, like the rest of my Ponysonas, share a design of the Twilight / regular mare body / head type, as well as the Twilight eyes. I had chosen to be a unicorn as I had and still find it very satisfying with how the unicorns use magic. Her personality is unknown, but most likely a mix of Twilight and Fluttershy. Her biography is unknown, as she was more of just a concept of if I was a pony / self-insert, but she most likely controlled the sun or moved the clouds, which, looking back, is the weather ponies and Celestia's jobs respectively, but nowadays I like to think of her as a student or scribe of Princess Celestia's, kind of like Anaphora, an antithesis to Sunset Shimmer, who wanted to set the sun and bring Celestia down. Due to being from 2011, she has no connection to Sunset Shimmer and took no inspiration for her, nor is she inspired by any other background ponies who share a similar appearance. In my reconstructions, I have depicted her with blue eyes to serve as a contrast to her warm palette, although originally they were most likely orange or yellow. Note the similarities to a current OC of mine, Maintail. Despite this, they are two completely different entities.
I love everybody because I love you. When you stood up, walked away barefoot.
Strawberry was another self-insert from 2011. She had a red coat and a darker red mane with a strawberry cutie mark and green eyes. I like the use of complementary colours, although she was based off a strawberry. Her main style slightly resembles Bonbon, but with the crest curled in the other direction. Looking back, it is reminding me a lot of Aurora and Ariel from the shape and colours respectively, which makes sense as they were my two favourite princesses at the time. She was a Pegasus who lived in a treehouse and was the 7th element of harmony, the element of forgiveness. Someone at Marzipan Studios really likes the concept of forgiveness. I had always thought of it as a missing piece from the element of harmony, despite it slightly falling under kindness. Again, due to being from 2011, this was before Starlight or Sunset could fill that gap. Little fun fact, in the MLP Adventures in Ponyville game, my character was called Raspberry, as there wasn't a lot of red to choose from in the game, so I went with pink to generate a raspberry-inspired pony. Sugar Pop, a red Pegasus with a pale red or pink mane and tail, was a slight variation of Strawberry. Sugar Pop and Strawberry were simultaneous, however Sugar was more of a general sona, whereas Strawberry was specific to MLP. Think Marianne and Anaphora. Same internal character, just different font.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch and it's bringing me out the dark.
Coming into 2012, I had switched to a purple alicorn with pink hair and a sapphire cutie mark surrounded by 4 amethyst shards. Although later being renamed to Amethyst Fire in 2014 when I temporarily came back to her, her name was Amethyst. Her mane was in this sort of Anglo/Celtic inspired braids, as that was my favourite hairstyle at the time, and she was born an alicorn and is from an alicorn civilization where she lives, Alicornia. The reason she is an alicorn is solely due to my indecision of whether I wanted to be a unicorn or a Pegasus. She is also notably not in a huge alliance with, or well known in Equestria. She has most likely acquainted with the main 6 and princesses once or twice, but is not hugely known. Thus, looking back, and at the time, I don't consider her a Mary Sue.
Na 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 na
In 2013, I switched to Sundancer, a dark pink alicorn with fire in her mane. Originally red, orange and yellow stripes, but I have changed it to a gradient in my reconstruction. Her cutie mark is a dolphin silhouette jumping over a wave in front of a sunset. I had a thing for dolphins back then, which you can see shining through within this character. Her name was inspired by the Generation 1 pony Sundance, as well as the Generation 1 pony Moondancer. Most of her personality and biographical info is shared with Amethyst, and she is another alicorn from Alicornia, except she was developed to be part of a group of 7 sisters, from oldest to youngest: Uni, Crystal, Moondancer, Glimmer, who was actually a real person and not an OC, Sundancer herself, Kerry, who was the naughty toddler, and baby Lilac. And there was also our quote-unquote evil stepsister, Sapphire, who was our other friend who we were constantly on edge with. Coming into the brilliant 2014, we have Starlight Destiny. Little authors note that this was 2014, which was a year before Starlight Glimmer, thus she has no correlation with her. Destiny was a pink alicorn with cyan wavy hair. Her mane would also go purple when wet. If her colour palette looks familiar, it is based off Starbeam Twinkle, who I used to represent myself at the time, only this time she's an alicorn due to my indecision. She shares a mane style with Fluttershy. As you know me, I love Fluttershy's long hair. Also note that this was early 2014, so Let It Go was all the rage, and I did see some Let It Go star parodies circling YouTube, mostly titled Let It Glow, and there were notably some other people with the character name of Starlight who would argue over who the better singer was. I'll have you know that I also wrote my own Let It Glow parody with my character. I don't have the original lyrics, however I have rewritten them here. I've contemplated doing a cover, however Let It Go is quite out of my range considering the fact I'm a contralto. Starla. Although this character's name began as Starla Destiny, I shortened it to just simply Starla. She is similar to Starlight but with inverse colours, as I swapped to using Snowcatcher to represent myself. Her name is inspired by Princess Skylar, but also a character from another franchise in my YouTube recommended called Starla, and of course takes major inspiration from the name Starlight. In late 2014, it was time for another change. You may have noticed we've had the sun and the stars, so where's the moon? Well, here's an entirely blue Pegasus with purple eyes, Fluttershy hair and a crescent cutie mark. A very shy pony. Her name is Moondancer. Unlike the others, I had made a custom pony of this pony, which I don't have anymore as I had washed the paint off, but some of it still remains on one of my notorious rainbow dashes. She did have purple wings at one point, which you can sort of see the resemblance in. As you may recall, I coined the name Moondancer in early 2014 for my YouTube channel name, before later making her my Ponysonas at the end of the year. Also note my first email address, not my personal email, my online/childhood email, also contains the name Moondancer. It is also important to note that my Moondancer has moon and dancer as 2 separate words, which differs from the official Moondancer and previously mentioned Moondancer, who was the sister of Sundancer. My channel namesake, Fluttershy with black hair and a red heart cutie mark. In early 2015, Moondancer eventually evolved to have black hair, but then I decided to change her body to yellow as opposed to blue, as I thought it looked better in my head and would be easier to recolour Fluttershy's hair black than Rainbow Dash's in a custom pony. Also note needing Fluttershy shaped eyes for this character. Her name was changed to Marzipan due to having a lack of association with the moon anymore, as well as me liking the sound of the word at the time. The cutie mark was a red heart, or blood in the shape of a heart, to represent her talent of animal taming, how their blood is tamed but also the violence it may include. She specifically tamed wildcats such as cheetahs, tigers, lions, panthers, and notably ocelots. And she had a pet ocelot, who I can't exactly remember the name of, it might have been Annabelle, who died at the end of her backstory. I was fascinated by taming animals in Minecraft, and cats are obviously my all-time favourite animal, which you can see the resemblance in. Her eyes began as Fluttershy's shade of green, but I then made them greener as 2015 went on. I sometimes depicted her with raccoon eyeliner. She was slightly emo, but personality-wise it was a mix of Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy. The songs I Want It All from High School Musical and Pressure Off by Duran Duran I also heavily associate with her. It's also important to note the name Marzipan correlates with her character, as it references her coat colour as well as the sweetness within her personality, hence her last name being Sundae to keep up this semantic field of confectionery and sweetness. However, in late 2015 I decided to recolour her coat to this more original, brighter shade of gold, also changing her second name of Sundae to Feline as to fit more with her significance with wildcats. Also inspired by Turret Falcon, an old friend, with having an animal-linked last name that begins with F. Marzipan Falcon was actually my name on Minecraft at the time. A couple weeks later, I changed her second name to Citrine due to the negative connotations of feline, but also as I loved the sound of the word citrine, especially as a name. It also works well with her warm coat colour. In early 2016, Marzipan Citrine's mane was shortened as I began illustrating her through base edits and original art as opposed to recoloured Fluttershy vectors. Despite this gradually happening through a natural changing style of drawing, I decided to accept it. Mid-2016, I updated her cutie mark to contain a purple lightning bolt, purple and red notably being my previous two favourite colours / colour combo, as well as changing her second name to Lightning to represent her speed. In 2018 I updated her cutie mark to a purple lightning bolt with red blood drips and black swirls at the top. The lightning bolt represents speed and energy, the blood represents the animal taming, and the swirls represent creativity and innovation, bringing myself as the creator into her character. Over those 2 years, the way in which I drew her mane also naturally changed as I started drawing hair with more volume, making it appear slightly shorter due to having more surface area at the top as opposed to the ends. In 2019, I softened her colour palette slightly, as well as dropping the lightning from her name as it no longer made sense, making her name solely Marzipan. I also changed the meaning of her cutie mark to no longer incorporate animal taming as it wasn't part of her character anymore. The red paint represents artistic endeavour, the swirls represent authorial creativity, and the lightning bolt represented energy and inspiration. It's also important to note that Citrine and Lightning had scars on their hidden eyes to reflect the nature of animal taming, but this was obviously removed with this talent change. Naturally, orange eyelids were also added as an original touch, also as a representation of artistic endeavour and innovation within her character. Symphony is a ponification of my current persona. I no longer use her as my official Ponysonas, only as a pony version of my persona for whatever reason. Despite being an all-new character, she did previously resemble Marzipan Sundae due to the yellow coat and long Fluttershy-inspired hair, despite it being a dark purple as opposed to black, a purple which was softened and lightened over time. She should technically be green as per her signature dress colour, but I kept it as Sundae's yellow as it worked better. Plus, when I ponify human OCs, I prefer to make their coat colours different to their attire colours. She has her signature eternally inked quill behind her ear, as well as a cutie mark depicting a purple quill, multicoloured paint splatters and black swirls, representing literature, art and inspiration respectively. She has the Fluttershy eye shape, but when wide open they resemble Twilight, as seen with Fluttershys in the early seasons. Her name is Marianne, as inspired by the Sisters of Mercy song, but since its shortened form is Marzi, I have decided to keep my username as Marzipan Studios as a wordplay on her name, also note it's half rhyme, although it should technically be Marianne Studios.
Off this island, this was an escape plan. Carefully timed it, so let me go.
Anaphora, or Anaphora, is a cream Pegasus with white gradients and a crimson-red mane. Like most of them, her mane is inspired by Fluttershy's gorgeous mane, but is modified slightly. also with the addition of a bun/ponytail, which can vary by interpretation. Her green eyes take the Fluttershy shape but resemble Twilight's when wide open. Her personality, like Marianne and myself, resembles a blend of Fluttershy and Twilight. Her colour palette is inspired by my current two favourite colours/colour combo, and her eyes are green due to my eyes in real life being hazel, and like Disney Fanatic, this is the type of hazel that everyone observes as green. A lot of my Sonas have had green eyes due to this, except the few that have had blue due to me always wanting blue eyes. A lot of my Sonas are Pegasi due to Flight with Wings being my dream since youth, with the exception of Sunlight due to me finding it very satisfying with how unicorns use magic. Hence my Alicorn OCs depicting my indecision. Her cutie mark is a green heart that takes its formation into a quill, representing her literary and artistic talent. The heart represents passion and ambition. As her occupation, she lives in Canterlot and serves as a messenger for Princess Celestia. Are any of these characters Mary Sues? First off, a Mary Sue is a character that does not possess any notable flaws, and usually is as close to perfect or omnipotent as you can get. From their appearance and biographical info alike, Sunlight, Moondancer, Marzipan and Anaphora do not possess the qualities of a Mary Sue. Despite Anna and Sunlight having close ties with Princess Celestia, this is solely out of employment. Strawberry, on the other hand, being a seventh element of harmony, and due to her not having any memorable flaws at the time, is as close to a Mary Sue as we can get out of the list. Although Alicorn OCs are usually defined as Mary Sues within the MLP fandom, Amethyst, Sundancer, and the rest of the Alicorns on this list are not typically Mary Sues due to their Alicorn hood being from their heritage. They were born into an Alicorn civilization, and do not have any notable ties to Equestria, the main six, or the equestrian Alicorns. Similarly, another thing a lot of people aren't a fan of is Raycolor OCs. In other fandoms, I can see where the problem lies. However, in a universe like MLP, where most of the characters share similar body types, and some characters even share hair types, I don't think it's as big as a problem as people make it out to be. Sure, it hinders originality and creativity when you're creating your OC. Is it that much of an issue? Is it the end of the world? From a character design perspective, sure, it hinders originality and creativity. However, if I'm absolutely in love with Fluttershy's main style, are you going to stop me from regenerating it into my character? And as someone who also has long straight hair and happens to be a Fluttershy kinny, what else but a perfect way to represent myself? Another OC type within the MLP fandom that is often frowned upon is simple OCs, which are the sort of plain character designs, which a lot of my characters definitely fall into with their minimalism. I argue that this is not a bad thing inherently. Look at half of the main six. Their designs are very simple, sticking to strictly one coat colour and one hair colour. Too many colours can be an eyesore, and too little colours are just frowned upon for their unoriginality. However, at the end of the day, even if your character does end up resembling another, it's the idea development that counts. It was also a bonus for me back in 2011, before I knew a lot about colour theory and design, that I had started off simple, and looking back I have designs that I quite like looking back. Plus, it's 2023, cringe culture is dead. Is it the end of the world if someone has an Alicorn OC, regardless if it's a Mary Sue or not? The only rules that you really shouldn't break in strictly persona creation is colour theory. Please don't use the bright stock digital colours, it looks awful. I made that mistake long ago, and softening the colours in my reconstruction definitely helps. Although Starlight and Starla aren't technically OCs with their designs, I've decided to include them anyway because their personalities and backgrounds were all original. But overall, thank you for watching this showcase. It is very interesting to look upon fellow creators' old personas and see how ideas and characters have changed and developed over time. I do admire the analogous, whatever. Looking back, I do admire the analogous colours. Looking back, I do admire the hang on. Despite being an all-new character, she did previously her hair was in this sort of Celtic-inspired, I don't really know what it's called. Note the similarities to a current OC of mine, Maintail. Despite this, they are two completely different entities. Hang on. No, this wasn't late 2014. It was early 2014. A kingdom of constellation, and it looks like I'm the queen.